Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Mildred, and she will tell us what she does at her job, and hopefully explain everything to our best of her ability, so we can learn from what she does. Okay, Mildred, can you please tell us what you do at your job, and how does that help out the population of homeless people?
Sure. I'm Mildred Flores. I'm the Director of Marketing and Compliance at Settlement Housing Fund, and I handle the lotteries for-profit developers and some of our own internal projects where we do, all the advertising, mailing out applications, screening applicants and getting them approved, and moved into all the affordable housing opportunities that are available in the city. So developers come to us when they are building affordable housing, when they need a marketing agent to handle the affordable leasing process. And that's what we do on behalf of the developers. We are their compliance agent, and we make sure to screen the applicants, within the criteria of HPD, and making sure that the applicants have a good experience and that we explain to them, how everything works and what they can expect from the project, and then hopefully get them moved in.
That sounds like a lot of work. In a nutshell. So you did say an acronym. People might not know what it is. HPD. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Yes, HPD is the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. They are the housing agency for New York City. So any housing that is built in New York City typically is under the jurisdiction of HPD.
Thank you. So you said you handle the lotteries and things like that. How can people apply for the lotteries, and how does that whole process work? Because lotteries, like, you pick out, almost like you put everybody's name in a hat and you pick it out. But where do they have to apply for these lotteries?
Sure. So the new process is there's a new website called New York City Housing Connect 2.0, and applicants typically apply online, but they can still also apply via paper. So on the New York City Housing Connect website, there is a list of every lottery that's open for the next 60 to 90 days. It doesn't typically stay on for that long. So you can go in at any time and see what's available in the next 60 to 90 days. If you see anything that you might be interested in, then you would create an account and fill out the application. The application process is really is much more intuitive now than it used to be in the past, where they help guide the applicant to provide the correct information so that their income is calculated correctly. And then once your application is completed, then you would apply to anything that you're interested in your area, outside of your area, within your income limits. And then the system would let you know, yes, you appear to qualify, you should definitely apply, or it can even give you a warning, you don't appear to qualify, so please check your application, or if you do submit your application, you may not be eligible. So it gives you that, but you can also see it in the newspapers. All the projects are required to put ads in the newspapers whenever there is a lottery. So if you see the ads in the newspapers, it would give you an address where you can request a paper application. You mail your self-addressed envelope, and then they would send you back an application, and you can apply that way.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know about the newspaper thing. So that's good information to know. So if you don't have the internet, you could definitely still be able to apply and not be left out of any of the, information on housing that they have in New York City.
Yeah, the AM New York Metro, the free newspaper that they give, at the subways and stuff. And if you see any free newspapers in those containers, it's typically near transit stations, you should always pick one up, and you will probably always see, some new opportunity in there. So it's definitely in the newspapers, the ones that are easily accessible. And then You can also call 311, I believe, and they give you a list of what's available as well. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I think that's true, but you'd have to double check.
No problem. That's a lot of good information. Some things I didn't even know about, and some things I did. So for income, what kind of income do they normally look for? You have to be working only, or do like disability counts? Does public assistance counts? What does even what's the child support count? What kind of income does count for this?
So typically all income counts as long as it's consistent and verifiable. Um, so HCD has a really good income guide online, and it like explains, what's considered income, how it's counted, how you can provide proof of it. But in a nutshell, for eligibility purposes, it needs to be consistent and it needs to be, easily documented. So if you're getting like public assistance, then you would provide your budget letter. If you're getting Social Security, disability, you would provide your award letter. If you're getting gifts from, your family, as long as it's, going into your bank account, or you can share it, show it through Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, then that all will count as income. And then of course, if you're employed, you would provide your pay stubs. If you own a business, we would want to see, your business records. We would want to see your taxes. Child support, we would want to see it in the Cash Apps and the Venmos if you do it that way. If you have a formal child support agreement, we would want to see the printout from the child support department. But the city does have like an extensive resource on what we consider income and how to calculate it as well for applicants to look at and get familiar with it. And when you're going through the Housing Connect application process, it explains that to you as well. And then once your income has kind of been determined, the big thing to know is that it's gross income. We are not looking at income after taxes, except for in cases of self-employment. So everything is before taxes. How much do you make before taxes? What's your gross income? That's the income that we're going to use. And then, once you know what your income is, then you want to apply for opportunities that fall within that income range. So if you know you're going to be $100 over, then you're not going to be considered eligible. The income limits are very strict, because that's the point of the program, is for people to be within the income limits.
I understand. I didn't know they would take all those different ways. I just never thought about that. Even Venmo, you said Venmo. I think a lot of people now just including those things, which is very good for a lot of people, because it helps them out to be able to get more resources for themselves. So that's pretty cool. So I have another question. So you said there's a new website. So what happened to the old website? If can people even apply to this still? Or what happened to people's records if they applied for certain stuff? They keep on going back to the old website over and over, trying to apply for stuff, but they're not getting through because of the new website now. How did the word get out about that?
So the old website is still operational. They don't post new opportunities on there. So once you've already applied to projects on that old website, which, stopped being operational in 2020, it was like the summer of 2020. The last projects that closed out on there, those were once you applied to those, then that was it. You still have access to it, and those projects are probably still in process. So, all your contact information, the marketing agent will get from there, and they would still process you. And then I think it was it might have been August 2020 when they started posting new projects on the new Housing Connect. So if anything new came out, it was on the new Housing Connect. There was like a big media push of that the new Housing Connect was coming. On the old site, it tells you that there's a new website. It was in the news. It was on social media. So there was like a big like marketing push to show that this new website was coming. And for people that were probably applying for opportunities, they were probably being told by new agents as well, like, okay, you know, this new website is coming. So, you know, when you apply for new projects, this is where you're going to have to go. For the projects that they've applied to in the past, as long as that they haven't been, you know, rejected, their application is still active. If they get reached and be placed on a waiting list, that information is still available. So those opportunities are still available.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So with these housing, like you said, they go through HUD to say this and that. Is there a certain amount of, after they make a building, is it that the whole building can be, is it basically low income, or is only a certain amount of apartments in the building considered to be part of this program?
So it depends on the financing of the building and, you know, the deal that the developer chose. But for the most part, a lot of buildings are partially affordable. It used to like 20 to 30%. And then there are some buildings that are 100% affordable. You'll probably see more 100% affordable in like low income areas, like in the Bronx or Brooklyn. Those are the biggest areas where they have 100% affordable housing. So those are available, but for the most part, it's partially affordable and then partially market rate.
Is it like how NYCHA and Section 8 is? Like, how do they know how much you're going to pay for rent? How is it good? You said low income, but how does that work? Particular, how do they know how much you're going to pay for rent and be able to afford it all the time? I know you say they look through your income and things like that, but is it like 30% like NYCHA, or they make you pay like half, or how does that work? That makes sense.
NYCHA and Section 8 and like all those subsidy voucher programs, they do 30% of your income. So they have a maximum rent that they're going to pay for any given apartment. And then, you know, and you're going to pay 30% of that. So typically for affordable housing, if they don't have like a Section 8 or subsidy component, then they're going to set the rents as they are. So depending on what
Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. Maybe you're mute.
Whatever the maximum rent or studio, we will.
Hello?
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't hear you for a while.
Oh, it says my internet connection is unstable.
Oh, I can hear you better now. I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Yes.
So where should I pick up from?
You could pick up from, I don't even know what the question was about. What were you say talking about, how much cash people were?
I believe the question was about NYCHA.
If it's like 30% like NYCHA, that's what I was asking.
Yes. Okay. So no, it's not 30% like NYCHA, because NYCHA is looking at each individual applicant versus in affordable housing, we are just looking to capture the rent that we want to capture based on the program. And then we're going to calculate what the 30% of what the minimum income is. And then those are the applicants that are that will be found eligible. So we set the minimum income around 30% of the income, and then the applicants need to fit within that income limit. If they don't, then they would need a subsidy, but that's a subsidy that they would have to get on their own. The project wouldn't provide subsidies if that's not part of their financing.
Okay. So they can use like vouchers like City FEPs, I would assume, or no?
Yes.
And if they make more money, say in the future they don't have City FEPs anymore or something like that, would you guys recalculate it like how other programs do, or it doesn't matter if they make money, less money or more money, that rent stays the same amount no matter what?
Correct. The rent will not change if you make more or less money. The rent as it was advertised, and then the rent only increases based on rent stabilization.
Can you explain that?
So rent stabilization is the monitoring board in New York City that for rent stabilized apartments, your rent can only go up a certain percentage, and it's the percentage that they decide every year. So for the last few years, it was that they calculated that there should be no rent increases in New York City. So if you were a rent stabilized tenant, you didn't get any rent increases because that monitoring board said, no, there shouldn't be any rent increases.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that's how they did it. I always knew about rent stabilized apartments. In my mind, when I hear rent stabilizing, is that it never changes. I thought it just stays the same. For like, why you stay there for the rest of your life. If you move, they get kind of screwed. But if you stay in an apartment, I thought the rent just never changed at all. So that's interesting to know that there's a person who has a job was saying, oh, rent stays at a certain way, and if it 1 year they could say, oh, raise it up $2. That's how it works. I didn't realize that, so that's good information to know. What else would you like to tell people about settlement housing, and what do the stuff that they do and things like that?
Well, settlement housing is a big organization. What I do is only a small part of what we do for the public and the homeless population. We are a social service agency with programs that help with we provide transitional housing. We're an affordable housing developer. We do 100% affordable housing throughout, parts of the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. And we also provide resident services so that, residents have some place to go for help with, staying in their apartment, those kinds of resources. If they are coming up with like arrears and need help with, getting information about programs, that's a lot of the work that we do as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So when you say that you help them with certain things, is it like in their building, or you just give them a place they can go like to get help? Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. This is not my area, but I believe it is, in your building, you have a coordinator that you can go to for, to seek assistance with resources.
That's pretty cool. So you said you do marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of marketing, I think of like sales and
mm-hmm.
selling a product to a person. Is it like that exactly? Or can you explain a little bit more in depth?
Yes. So no, it's not like the traditional marketing where we're advertising and selling a certain product. The marketing and leasing component, that's the name that was given by HPD. That's the services that they provide, and that's what they call it for the affordable housing. So we do some marketing because we do make sure it gets posted on the Housing Connect site. We make sure it gets posted in the newspapers, but that's kind of like the extent of the marketing that we do. It's not really that traditional selling and a specific product type. But the name really came from like the way the agencies wanted to name it. So it was called, it's called marketing.
So you said leasing. What is that about per se? So you you make up the lease, or you get the leases from how does that work?
So leasing just refers to when you're dealing with moving people into an apartment building, when you're dealing with rentals. So leasing just means, you're going to get people to sign leases. So the process is called leasing.
Okay. Oh, you actually do the leasing with you guys. I didn't understand that part. I didn't realize that they did that also. So when people go through the lottery and they apply and then you say yes, they have to bring the paperwork and stuff to you to claim that they are like, the information they put in is correct, and then you sign the lease with you guys. That's how it works?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. So for all the buildings that people you got a yes to say, oh, build this or have this or whatever, those are all the buildings that you'll be doing the lease for.
That I'll be doing leases for, yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize that settlement housing actually did that. I did not know that. So I learned something new today. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Are these lease, like, what ages do usually people get these, like, you see come in? And when people sign these leases, do they understand what they're actually signing? I feel like, especially with younger people, if it's their first time, because if you're 18-year-old, most times probably won't come in because, they probably can't afford it, but they can. Do they understand what they're reading, or they're just signing paperwork? Like sometimes you sign you're doing a credit card application, you're just signing without actually reading the full information to make sure you don't have like a high interest rate and stuff like that. Do people actually read the leases, or they just kind of sign it when they get there?
Most people don't read what we provide to them, but we do, do our best to explain it. We explain it thoroughly so we at least make sure that we've provided them with the information so that they understand the process, they don't feel misled. Of course, there's always times that they don't fully absorb everything because it's a really high, like, intense time. Like, okay, I'm getting to an advanced stage of this process. I'm desperate for housing, so I'm really going to do everything that I can to just move forward. So I'm not really absorbing the information that's being provided to me. So I would say a lot of people probably don't read. They'll probably read later, and then they'll come back to us if they have any questions. But everything is pretty straightforward. There's really nothing to be concerned about. Leases are standard, in New York City. And then the affordable housing process is standard in New York City. And then there's always places that you can go to make sure that, what you experience is what you were supposed to experience.
Okay. How long are your leases for? Like 6 months, a year, couple of years? How does that usually go for your company?
So I can only, for leases in general, it's 1 or 2 years for rent stabilized leases.
Okay. That's cool. And then they come back and they re-sign a new one, I would assume. That's how it usually goes. Okay.
So for rent stabilization, lease renewals are automatic.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. So they have to do that much work, That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So what if a person is an immigrant and they don't have papers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to apply and they have like a job off the books, would they be able to apply? And because this is a state that is a sanctuary state, do you take that or don't you take that because of their status?
So yes, the mayor put out guidance. I think might have been last year. It's very clear. We don't ask any applicant about their residency status. The most important parts of affordable housing is that you at least pay your taxes. So if you are working a job and you pay your taxes, then you are eligible for affordable housing. So depending on the status of the immigrant, if they are working an off the books job and they're not paying taxes, then they wouldn't be found eligible. But if they're working off the books and they, claim their employment as self-employment, and they're paying taxes on it, then they would be eligible.
Okay, so people still have opportunity, guys. Don't feel like because you don't have anything long. Actually, the lady said, as long as you claim taxes, which I would hope that you are to kind of help yourself out in the future, you'll be able to apply for this job. So this apartment. Yeah. So it's pretty cool that now a lot of things are getting more inclusive. People who don't have paper, that people are realizing that they're still, even though they don't have this documentation, they're still a part of our community, our society, and that they're helping out a lot because most times they get the jobs that a lot of people don't want,
Mm-hmm.
So, and they most of the time they work very hard. So
yeah, they work very hard.
I think it's pretty cool that they put them in there last. I don't know, probably because of the pandemic, they put them in. It seems like a lot of rules changed because of the pandemic. So I'm happy about that. I'm really, really happy about that. So do you have any last words to tell the people about settlement housing?
Yes, so I have just a few last words. And then, so for immigrant applicants, they should also I would really recommend applying for the New York City ID, because in most cases, that's the only form of ID you need to provide in affordable housing applications. So definitely they should get that. And then for Last Words at Settlement Housing, yeah, we are an affordable housing provider. We work very hard to make sure that we are building communities where people feel safe and feel that we are improving their lives. And I'm really proud to work for an organization whose mission is to make sure that we are providing for like the most underserved communities. And I really appreciate being here.
Oh, that's nice. So with for the ID she was talking about, if you don't know, probably just Google which places near you get the IDs. I know some libraries do it. I got mine at my local library, but probably go through and one day will know where these IDs are, so you can get one for yourself. And also, I was gonna say, IDs and I forgot the other one, but it's fine. If ain't that coming in the next episode, and I'll tell you about it. Immigrants, and I think that's it. But yes, so this is going to be us signing off to hear our voices. And if you have any more questions about Settlement Housing Fund, do you have a link that they can go to?
Sure. Yeah, our website is settlementhousingfund.org.
Excellent. So guys, thank you for coming to hear our voices. I'll try to get a link down in the description box. You don't have to, if you don't feel like Googling, I get lazy too. I copy and paste everything. So I definitely understand. I definitely understand. And so I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you learned something that can help yourself to do this whole process. And I hope that everything that we're doing and the stories that you hear can change how your mindset are about homeless people and homeless organizations, or just organizations in general. I hope these podcasts can really just open your eyes to a lot of different things, and get a lot of resources that can help you and your family make yourself just better and make your life in New York City better and things like that. One more question. Do you have any more around America, or this is the only one in New York City?
Our company?
Yes, the company.
Yes, it's only in New York City. There's only one organization.
Okay, so for right now, they have in New York, probably with doing such a great job, they might expand. You never know. They've been around for a while and they haven't, but you just never know, because a lot of states need help. And if this is a way of a resource of helping people, it should definitely expand to go to other places to help other people. So you never know, guys. You might hear this company in your city, in your state, and they're a wonderful company that is doing great things, as you heard, and they're helping out everybody. So don't feel like you're getting left out. They're helping out if you have paperwork, if you don't have paperwork. As long as you're a person and you work and want to do better for your family, you'll be able to do this program. So guys, I hope it helped you out. I hope you got a lot of information that you can use and give to other people or use for yourself. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one. Bye.